everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fractured Not Broken. It is your guy, Coach Reg, EQ expert, author, presenter, and host of the Fractured Not Broken, the Relationship Wellness Podcast. I'm excited today, you guys, to have Jean Burgess with me today to talk about her new fiction book. I think it's going to be a great conversation. And so without further ado, please welcome Jean to the show. Hello, Jean. How are you today?
I'm great, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. So Jean is a writer, presenter, and author. And this is you have a fiction book and you have a nonfiction book.
Correct.
And today we're going to focus on your fiction.
Right.
So please tell us the name of it and let's get into it.
Yeah, so I've written, this is my debut fiction, as you said, and it's called That Summer She Found Her Voice,
Wonderful.
a retro novel. And that's because it takes place in 1978. A couple of locations that might be of interest to your audience. Baltimore's Little Italy and Maryland's Eastern Shore. Those are the main locations.
Okay.
And it tells the story of a 23-year-old, Margie Stevens, who grows up in a small town on the Eastern Shore, kind of a domineering father, and she just broke up with her boyfriend. She had put her life on hold to follow her boyfriend's ambitions, and she catches him cheating.
Ooh.
So breaks her heart, and now she's, what's she going to do? She's
Right.
rudderless, right? And then she opens a newspaper, and she sees this opportunity for a singer in a swing band, King Vito's swing band, out of Little Italy.
In Baltimore.
In Baltimore. And totally out of character for her, she decides to go for it.
Okay.
And she becomes a singer and tours the country with this swing band as a singer. And on that kind of starts her journey of self-discovery, where she starts to define her own personal values and kind of learns about the world. And then, as the title suggests, she finds her authentic voice.
Got you.
Or begins to.
And so what types of things led her to finding her voice?
Yeah, so she has a lot of challenges. Now, remember, this is 1978, right? Emerging feminism. She starts to butt up against some situations where she sees women aren't treated the same on the road or elsewhere, right?
Of course.
That's relatable even today.
It is indeed. Unfortunately.
We're still dealing.
Absolutely.
She starts to see some things, some social injustice. Again, relatable today.
It's actually
and
true.
that doesn't sit well with her. And what's she going to do about that? But she doesn't really know how to speak up about some of these things. That doesn't feel well for her. There's some spiritual things that she's not sure about. She starts to question those values. And those are just some of the themes. As she's touring the country, she's reflecting and questioning and just trying to redefine who she is.
So what are some of the things that of the relationships that she had from the boyfriend, her dad, others that she met while traveling? What were the relationships like? And
so many. There's a number, and that's a great question because, first of all, what she grew up in, her home, and everyone's, right? That defines who we are, at least initially. And do we continue on that path, or do we push against that? And so her father was very domineering. He had a set of principles for her, and she pushed against that. But she didn't know how to discuss that with her father. So getting away helped her. So that was one relationship. Of course, the boyfriend. She set everything aside
for him,
for the boyfriend. Turns out not to be a healthy way to
make choices. Exactly.
To live.
Exactly. You have
And then she's in this band, and then so she has boss issues. again, doesn't speak up when she sees things that she don't agree with her. The boss also has a daughter, the band leader boss, and so I kind of equate that to any kind of workplace relationship.
Right.
The daughter is a little tough to deal with as well, and don't we all have workplace relationships where
Very
there's an
challenging.
employee?
Absolutely. No, 100%. And it's the dynamics are interesting as well, right?
Yeah.
Because you have these different types of relationships. You have a personal, you have a professional relationship, and then you have to, I imagine she somehow in some way finds the courage to speak up for herself, to maybe create boundaries, healthy boundaries for herself.
Yes.
Do you talk about that in your book? And if so, how did she do that? How did she get there?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is that, and I think for all fiction writers, is that we try to write a character with an arc.
Okay.
So that initially we show how they don't communicate well.
Right. Right.
How she doesn't have a voice at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
And then slowly how she does learn some skills to address that.
Mhm.
Sometimes she fails.
We all do.
Sometimes she fumbles and stumbles, but slowly she begins to learn these skills.
Okay.
And yeah, and isn't that what we all try to do
Absolutely.
in life?
Absolutely.
I kind of was laughing when I was invited to come on to
Yes.
this show, and we were going to talk about communication, because why would your listeners want to hear somebody who write a fiction? Except I think we all can read fiction and learn
Sure.
from it.
Absolutely.
We don't always have to read nonfiction.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, sometimes by looking at those character arcs,
Yes.
we're learning empathy.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing ourselves sometimes.
True. And so she found her voice. Is that the conclusion? I don't want to give it away, but
No. It's thank you for because I do want to leave readers with she's finding her voice.
Okay.
We don't, especially it's just one summer. She's got to keep working.
Of course. It's a continuum.
And we all do, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm
100%.
sure that's how you coach.
Absolutely. It is. It's sustainable. It's developing good habits, right? It's first understanding what poor habits we have that don't serve nor support us, and then how we can be better, right? And allowing ourselves grace or extending ourselves grace until we develop the new habit that does serve and support us.
Right.
So absolutely true. It's curious. So in fiction and writing the arc and sharing her story, what things did she learn? Do you discuss, like, okay, this is where she started, and when she reflects, this is what she's learned, and this is the new trajectory? Does that happen in fiction at all?
Yeah. And like I said, sometimes she doesn't do a good job at it. In one place, she confronts, so the ex-boyfriend comes back.
Okay.
Or she visits home again.
Okay, sure.
And the ex-boyfriend is like, wow, I'm really impressed. You went on the road. That doesn't seem like you. And he's flattering her.
Sure.
And she starts to go, wow, he's really impressed with me. And she starts to fall for
Back
his
into the trap.
Right. And we start to see that, and we're
Sure.
like, no, Margie, don't fall for that.
Happens
Or at
all
least
the
I'm
time.
hoping that's what
Indeed.
and
Indeed.
she's tempted.
Yeah.
And she and he bought a sailboat. That was always his dream.
Sure.
And he's like, Margie, you can come and be my woman on
Gotcha.
the sailboat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's tempted.
And it makes sense, because if that was her first love or first
Yeah.
real relationship,
It was.
and she was drawn to him, it makes sense that until she grows beyond it and learns to choose herself, then she's likely to fall prey to his woos.
Right.
So so was she strong enough to overcome, or did she stand her ground, or did she kind of say, we can't give that away? Okay.
Well, no, she almost does.
Okay.
And then we see her wheels turning.
Sure.
And again, I gotta say, I've been there.
100%. I think we all have been. I think we all have been. There are people who impact us, right? And they are difficult to shake, and although they may go away for a period of time, you could say they don't go away, they really just go dormant for whatever the reason. And when they reach back, be it a holiday, a birthday, hey, just thinking about you, depending on where you are in your life, you can be receptive to that.
Yeah,
And it's not a stretch at all.
right.
So
And
yeah,
so we have to keep working, keep
absolutely.
working at it. And I
Absolutely.
do want, and I think we of this like mind
Yes.
that you, especially I loved what you just said about it's habits. Habits need work. They
Yes.
need tending.
Mhm.
Um, Emotional intelligence is great. I totally believe in it, but you have to keep working at it.
It's a continuum. It is. And I think the bigger part of it, Gene, is that when you don't understanding what EQ is, emotional intelligence is the first part, I believe, because you first have to know what it is and understand what it is to actually begin doing it, because it all is
Yeah.
everything, all of it is a choice, right? It's the self-awareness, and we can know some things or understand some things about ourselves, but may not know how to manage it, which is a self-management attribute,
Right.
right? And so when it starts with us, and then it's also becoming more clear on what matters to us, our values, the things that are important to us. We when we're younger, the things that were once important, we thought like, I want to tour the world at 17, if you will. At 27, 37, that may not be your goal.
Right.
And so understanding what you want, what you desire, and recognizing that the priorities or what you thought was a high priority may not always be the same. It can shift, and it starts with choosing you. It doesn't mean it's okay to be selfish when you choose you, especially when it supports you and doesn't hurt or impact anyone else negatively. When you are considering others and you're receiving that in return,
Right.
it is perfectly okay to be selfish, because the person who selfish in that regard to choose yourself, because who you're in relationship with will respect and honor it as well, because you're likely offering what you're requesting or asking. So in my book, Love Relationships, one of the chapters is, do you offer what you ask? It's the same thing. It speaks to, if I want this, or I'm asking for this in my life, then I have to be willing to offer what you're asking from me,
Right.
right? And so with these two in your book, I wonder if they got to a point where there was reciprocity, or was it still selfishness?
Right. And I think, and that's great. That chapter is great because what happens is self awareness, which is
Mhm.
part of the emotional
Sure.
intelligence,
Mhm.
she starts to realize, hey, wait a minute, it's all about him.
There it is. Good for
There's
her.
never, and it's
Good for
never
her.
been a little bit about me.
Good for her.
But she never had that awareness in the beginning,
Right.
and
And
she's
she's working on it.
starting to
And she's starting to get
learn,
it. Absolutely.
starting
She's
to
finding her
learn.
voice.
And I hope that that's what people, who read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It sounds like the summer she found her voice was the beginning of her finding her voice. Is that fair?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because it's just a summer, and I mean, it takes us a long
It
time.
takes a lifetime for some of us, because it's a continuum. We have to keep working, like you said, right? So when we think about the things that we want to be better, that we recognize that we can improve and grow, and literally transform. Transformation takes time,
Right.
right? And I don't know. Do you think there will be a part 2 or sequel to this?
Ah, yes.
I kind of figured it would be, because we've introduced her voice, her finding her voice, so we have to know what happened with Margie
Right.
at some point. At least I hope you choose to share that.
Right. So, little secret
Please.
is that the book, a lot of people ask me, well, what's the inspiration for this book?
Sure.
And I actually did. My background is in theater.
Yes.
And I actually did tour with a big band. Now, this was out in the Midwest.
Sure.
This book is totally fictionalized.
Understand.
But I did tour with a big band.
Okay.
So the seed of the book is
Your personal
about,
experience.
my personal experience.
That's the nonfiction part.
So, so one question I got was, is her journey about
Mhm.
finding her voice, my journey.
Sure.
But I would have to say that I'm still working on, at times, speaking up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still, and I'm in my 60s.
Understand.
I'm still
Understand.
sometimes, when is it appropriate?
Sure.
When, as a woman, when
Mhm.
I'm in a situation
Mhm.
like Margie was finding about sexism,
Sure.
when is it appropriate? When isn't it? When am I being shut down? I'm
Right.
still
It's a challenge.
learning.
Absolutely. And I think again the awareness of it, but then what I would hope in the fiction for Margie and for you in real life is that you find the courage to lean into it,
Yes.
even though it's uncomfortable. The only way that you find your voice is to do it.
Right.
Because if we think about it, it's just a thought. We don't know until we execute the thought, right? Or execute the action. And so I would encourage you to continue to be curious, continue to learn, continue to be courageous as you navigate those areas that you recognize that are not as easy or comfortable for you as others. It's because we don't as people want to, if we sit in it, it can grow to resentment.
Right. I found that. Yes.
You see, and it's not something, and it's something that we can change. And so it comes into that category of, is this something I can control? Is this something I can fix? Is this something that I can stand against? I can't do it for everyone, but I can certainly do it for me, and I can let my voice be heard. So the summer of her finds her voice becomes the life I'm finding my voice.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
And it's not just in sexism. It can be in whatsoever the thing. Right.
Yeah.
But I think curiosity, I think asking questions versus speaking to what your perception is, because people are not aware. We can often think that we are clear and what we intended to convey was received, but we don't know for sure because we don't qualify or ask the question, what did you hear?
Right.
And so once you tell me what you heard in your own words, that lets me know you understood. Because oftentimes, Jean, people will do this. They'll acknowledge, and we, the person who's sharing, think that they're agreeing with what we're saying. They're not. They're simply hearing, right? And so this is why it's important to ask, tell me what you heard. And if someone offends you or does something that is off-putting, it's okay to ask a question. Did you intend to do that? What was your goal? Once they share that with you, now you know what their intention was. And if their intention doesn't match your feeling, it's another opportunity, because we're talking about EQ. This is the social awareness part of it, right? How you respond to the answer is your choice. It's not to bend to their whim. It's, I don't know how I feel about this thing that you just said. Let me process it. Let me sit with it, or let me respond. The point of it all is that in that space, you have a choice. In the summer she found her voice, she has choices.
Yes.
And she's learning to exercise those choices and not just accept what's chosen for her.
Exactly. And that's where we see her growth in it. Yes. And we're all growing still. Yes.
Indeed we are.
And and I love that process. I think that's excellent. The asking questions. And that's what we see. It's written in first person. So you hear her thoughts and you see her thinking throughout it.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So it's a little bit different.
I think it's going to be a great read for those who choose to get it. So with that, where can people get the Summer She Found
so
Her
the
Voice?
great thing is it's available on Amazon. It's available on bookshop.org and any online retailer.
Fantastic.
So even Target online and Walmart online, anywhere you want to get it, you can get it.
Very good. Very
good. So get it.
You know what? Get it, folks. Get it. The Summer She Found.
Yeah, this was fun.
Hey, it was fun having you here, Jean.
Yeah,
thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, folks. Listen, another episode, and this was pretty awesome with Jean. Go out and get her book, guys. I'll put her contact information and where you can get the book in the show notes or the description below the video. Also, how you can work with me, how you can get my book, how you can book me for engagements, to speak, for coaching. We can discuss it. So looking forward to seeing you all again. It's your guy, Coach Reg, and I love love. I'll see you soon. Take care.